Good morning, everybody. My name is Ronald White, and I'm an alcoholic. Victor, quit talking. It's time to start the meeting. Welcome, everybody, to the Never Too Early Big Book Workshop on Zoom. For those who care to, please join me in a moment of silence to remind us why we're here, and for the alcoholic or addict who still suffers. And by the way, if I did not say it, my name is Ronald White, and I'm an alcoholic. Would you please join me in the serenity prayer? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This is the foreword as it appeared in the first printing of the first edition of the Big Book in 1939. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. For them, we hope these pages will prove so convincing that no further authentication will be necessary. We think this account of our experiences will help everyone to better understand the alcoholic. Many do not comprehend that the alcoholic is a very sick person. And besides, we are sure that our way of living has its advantages for all. Now, it is the purpose of this workshop to experience the recovery process as outlined in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, either for the first time or again, so we may better carry out and understand our primary purpose, to stay sober and carry the message to the still suffering alcoholic or addict. Now, we do this as the Big Book suggests as a group in a 1.5 hour meeting, which includes a 15-minute group conscience. We have a different reader each week whose responsibility is to keep us on track with what is being read. The reader will pause at each paragraph, comments, and experience with what was just read. Now, we're here to talk about recovery only and go through the 12-step processes outlined in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, this is not an emotional or an intellectual exercise. This is a spiritual exercise so that we all can recover and experience that recovery process as we read it together. Crosstalk is allowed in a loving and supportive manner. Please try to relate your experiences only with your questions or your comments. Could you please repeat after me? Please, God, let us put aside everything we think we know about ourselves, our disease, this process, and you, God, for an open mind and a new experience. Amen.
Morning, everybody. My name is Ralph White, and I am an alcoholic. Welcome to the latest installment of the Never Too Early Big Book Workshop. I am excited. Why? Because we're here. I'm glad to see everybody. I think probably also we got the spirit of one of our founders in the room this morning. Leon Strange will be celebrating 38 years of recovery today. And I feel, my brother, I really feel Strange. And even though we all gathered here modem to modem, you know, his presence, he left big footprints. So anyway, at the end of the meeting, at least we'll respect and recognize that. And with that in mind, if you're celebrating your birthday at this meeting, and we recognize yearly milestones only, put it in the chat, and we'll be glad to, in the number of years, and we'll be glad to celebrate your birthday with you at the end of this meeting. We are in the very beginning of the workshop, so it's wide open, everybody. You know, we're open, and for those who don't know our format, you know, we share on what is read only, which is not a general sharing session. We share on what's read. We got a lot of people here. We encourage everybody's input. We encourage you to get to what it is you're going to say and get out. And save your bullets. We got so many people, we probably don't have time for double dipping. So if you're going to share, make sure it's what you want to share on, and don't have your hand up at every paragraph, because it ain't happening. Let's have a great meeting this morning. I see some other faces that's got me excited this morning. Some good friends up in the house. And we are in the chapter. We are in the forward to the second edition. Ryan, where are we at?
We're at the very bottom of Roman numeral 19, starting at wild internal difficulties.
Roman numeral 19, for those of you who do not speak Roman, that is XIX. And
30th, that's incident auditorium.
Somebody, okay, thank you for muting, Ronald. Bottom of XIX, Roman numeral 819, bottom of the page, while the internal difficulties of our adolescent phase. Reader, take it away.
My name is Ronald. I am an alcoholic addict. While the internal difficulties of our adolescence period were being ironed out, public acceptance of AA grew by leaps and bounds. For this, there were two principal reasons: the large number of recoveries and united homes. These made their impression everywhere. Of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that day. 25% sobered up after some relapses, and among the remainder, those who stayed on with AA showed improvement. Other thousands came to a few AA meetings, and at times first decided they didn't want the program, but great numbers of these, about 2 out of 3, began to return as time passed.
Al?
Good morning, Al, an alcoholic. He loves this theme enough to mention it twice, the adolescent period. I myself have had 2 adolescent periods. The one when I was a 5, 6, 7-year-old boy, and the one when I got sober. I know he's talking about the fellowship, but I know this is also written in 1955, and he's been hanging out with a shrink named Harry Tebow. He's published the 12 and 12 3 years earlier, and Bill has been growing. He's now, 55. He got sober in 34. That sounds like 21 blackjack. That's very popular here in Vegas. So he's 21 years sober when this is coming out. He's got something to say. He can't rewrite the big book. He's talking about the history and the historic growth of AA, but he's going to slip in some, subliminal messages like adolescent period to get me thinking about where I went sideways. Nothing counted but, rigorous honesty. We feeling strange today too. So before I get emotional, I'll say his choice of words is not accidental. He put some thought into this. And I need to put some thought into this. Where is he leading me? There's a little treasure map with Easter eggs here, and I need to pay attention. Thank you.
So just to thanks, Al. While recap where we are in the forwards right now, last week we read about the problems that AA started having after the membership started growing, the internal difficulties, how the problems that came up later led to the formation of the 12 traditions in order to hold the fellowship together, because it looked like it might fall apart as a result of that. So those were the internal difficulties they were speaking of at the beginning of this paragraph. So they said, so while this internal stuff, us doing this infighting, this growing up in Alcoholics Anonymous was taking place, they said that the public stuff, the people outside of AA who didn't know nothing about this stuff, they said that they were accepting it by leaps and bounds, primarily for two reasons. Number one, large numbers of recoveries. They saw that it was working. They saw that people were recovering. So that helped. And the second one was people started reuniting with their families. People started coming back, getting back together, children, wives, husbands, all of that, parents, all these folks who were being satisfied with what Alcoholics Anonymous was doing for their people because it was drawing them back together. That made the public acceptance of Alcoholics Anonymous really happen. I'm not going to really talk a lot about the statistics. I know there have been some time that we really, marveled at the statistics and the numbers of it when it 50%
I'm gonna talk about them, Ronnie.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Anybody else while we come on, David?
David, I'm an alcoholic, and thank you so much for this reading. There's an old story about the phone game. I whisper something in your ear, and you whisper something in the other ear, and it goes around the room, and it's a totally different message of recovery. So I sort of look at this, that 50% got a good message, 25% got a half-assed message, and then many were very confused. I think a lot of people are uninformed about this and don't really know how to talk, and maybe they quote the book and they sound cool, but they really are sounding adolescent by that instead of talking in depth to really communicate to the alcoholic. So anyhow, thank you.
Doug,
alcoholic. Yeah, what I have heard about these numbers, 50% and 25%, was that originally in the first edition of the Big Book, they had 28 alcoholics write their stories at the end. And of those 28, 14 of them got drunk. And of those 14, 7 of them came back. So that seemed like a pretty good, I wasn't there. I'm quite young for my age. So I went in the room. But I've heard that from a number of people and know more than I do. So that's what I accept. Thanks for letting me share that.
Victor? Victor, you're not unmuted.
Okay. They said 50% came and gathered at once. And then 25% tried and gathered and stayed. And then the other 25% tried and they just got better. So that's simple. Stop raising your hand. Let's get through this shit. It's simple. It's just simple.
Victor,
it's simple.
You're done. Okay. We got it.
I'm done.
Thank you, sir. Let me get compose myself. Marianne?
Good morning, everybody. Let me start my video, even though I didn't take a shower today. Oh, well, it's all good. Here for the business. So I just wonder in my reading this, sorry, I seem to be losing my voice, but the 50 and the 25%, it's like, how true is that today? I mean, really, I wonder what our percentages are today, if anybody has an idea, because honestly, until we're ready, whether they got it or not, whether they stayed or nor relapsed on, it's still the seed has been planted. And so I was just wondering if anybody has that idea on that percentages today, because it seems like just my experience in meetings, that's kind of the same as what it is today, but I could be wrong. Anyways, thanks, guys.
Okay. So let's rein this kind of in. Okay, Hunter, I'm going to take you. Come on.
I'm Hunter, I'm an alcoholic. I love this part because everybody has a version, and sometimes it really doesn't matter, like how I became an alcoholic or why I'm an alcoholic, is what am I doing now? So the story I heard was back in the day when they had basically one meeting or two, when you would come in wanting to stop drinking, they would take you upstairs and they immediately put you in step 1, step 2, step 3. And so we get upstairs and you say, this ain't for me, so you left. But the ones that said it was for me stayed. That's where we got our 50% from. The ones that came downstairs and started participating in the meetings, that's our 50%. Remember, this is just me speculating. Then all of a sudden, here come Hunter, who rejected it 3 times, finally went upstairs and accept step 1, step 2, step 3. I'm the 25% that came and stayed. Then the other ones just sometimes we put ourselves beyond human aid. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Okay, so we're really going to cut off this speculation about that. Come on, Mary. I'm going to take you, and then we're not taking any more hands.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mary, and I'm an alcoholic. And I think the precise numbers are really a distraction. The point is, I think if you're around, even in my first month in the program, I noticed I met some people in my first week or so, and we hung out together for a couple of weeks, and then some of them disappeared. And as I kept going to meetings, I'd see more people coming in and more people disappearing. And some people would return and talk about how they'd been sober for 23 years, and then they stopped going to meetings and they relapse. So it's just the thing is, there's been an overall process of growth. It doesn't work for some people. Some of them have bad results. A few of them I've known have just been dry drunks for the rest of their life. But I'm here, and I've been here, and I love being here, and I don't want to ever stop going to meetings. Thank you.
Okay, before we start veering off into our general sharing portion, which we ain't gonna do. So we're back at our beginnings, you guys. I love this part, when we look at our history. And again, we got a lot of people on here, and we're talking to different constituencies. And one of the constituencies I really want to talk to right now is our new people. If you're new, you join in this outfit, what am I getting to be a part of anyway? I go to these meetings. Yeah, this is the first time I'm actually hearing about what is my roots and what is my beginning as an organization, as a group, as a society. And so we've been reading about that these last few weeks. And now we get to the point where we are starting to grow. Remember, we were stumbling along, had some difficulties getting the book published. And at first, growth was slow. Now we're growing. Why are we growing like this in what is called this adolescent period, this growing up period? Well, it's 2 principal reasons for that. One of them is people are seeing it works. The number of recoveries, the large numbers of recoveries. And when you start from scratch, 0, no recoveries, and now you're starting to get, that seems huge at the beginning. The large numbers of recoveries, because you got a huge well to draw from. And so people are seeing that. People had never seen it before. And the second reason AA was being accepted so readily is families were coming back together. Big deal. The numbers of people getting sober and the families would come back. Easy to track in the early days. I've heard some of what it was that Doug said. Some of these numbers have more significance to some people than other people. And so I'm not even going, and even today, and we may have some people on here who may even be able to speak to that better than me. Even today, we're interested in tracking And why would we be interested in that? Well, we're interested in whether or not we're being effective, whether or not we are being relevant, whether or not, this deal of ours is there. Well, most of us down here on the ground where we live, we know we are. Because we can look at it and see, damn, it's 468 people in the right at your home group. You can look and see if people are still, if the doors are still on, if the numbers are, so that part right there on the ground. So for many of us, these numbers in a big sense, okay, it's good to kind of know. Early, it was easy to track. Remember when we talked about a couple of weeks ago, we talked about what first led to the formation of the book, and when Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob in 1937 got together and did the famous Counting Noses meeting. And they had a way of saying it's about 40 people staying sober between Akron, Cleveland, and New York. They had a roster. They knew the numbers. It was a very, it was easy to see because it was a small sample size. And so it was easy to track. And so these numbers right here, when it talked about, I read it differently than some people read it, and it's subjective, however you want to read it. There are some people who really take these numbers and say, we are not being as effective as we were. We're nowhere near 50%. We're nowhere near. And as an aside, let's look at this. In the say you plan, and I hope everybody can get this. I know everybody, all the people who are maybe athletes or ball players or who are just good with numbers, you might get it. Say the season first started and you're in the first 3 games of the season, first 5 games of base, and you have 10 at bats. Well, you can get 5 hits. You're now hitting 5 or 50%. Or you shooting hoops and it's your first game out and you take 10 shots and you make 5 of them. Now you are shooting 50%. Wow, that's high numbers, and another group of people come out and in that same group, out of that group of people, they make 2 shots or 3 shots. Now they hit 30%. Wow, those are high numbers. And then it gets lower. But as the season goes on and as you get a larger sample size, you're not going to keep hitting like that. Doesn't mean you're not effective. It means that as the sample size gets larger, the numbers, the raw numbers, always get smaller. I hope I'm making sense to people. So even though it will appear we're not, and I'm not saying one way or the other, whether or not A is more effective or not, I'm not making a value judgment like that. But what I'm saying is this: don't get scared or put the numbers in perspective. So one guy got on here and talked to, and somebody, and I'm a crosstalk today. Somebody said, "Oh, it's the phone and the no, it have nothing to do with it." That and we tend to connect dots that aren't there, and tend to say, "Oh, that somehow is the way that people are sharing." No. But these numbers, and I'm gonna get off this, but for the numbers. Automatically, as your sample size gets larger, particularly when it is so much, now we're talking millions. We were talking hundreds when the book was, we were talking less than that. I've also understood it might have been based on the 28 personal stories. I don't know that. But at any rate, now we're looking at raw numbers. So we got millions of people who are in Alcoholics Anonymous now. So whether or not, and I remember our first foray through the book, and we really were, young and on fire. How come it's not still 50% of the people that's here? Something's wrong with this watered down message we get, and get fired up about that. And if you knew to this, and I get it. And sometimes if it's fuel for whatever the message I want to carry, we should be doing a pure, well, if you read this book, particularly about early days, Bill would talk about it would be occasional hardening successes. But usually when you're fishing like that, it was a lot of people who never even made it to giving us a start. But so summarize, Mr. White. So to summarize, these numbers, while they are wonderful for us to be able to trace our growth in the early days, these numbers have they have less efficiency in tracking what we do these days, just by the sense of the law of large number. I mean, we are just so much bigger now that that those numbers would not translate, readily. And you can't make the correlation between our effectiveness or not. Michael Jordan, in his first game of the season, could come out and could shoot 16 for 20. Oh my God, he's 80%. And then as the season progresses and he ends up about 49 or 48%, you say, well, damn, he's not as effective as he used to be. No, he's still the best player in the game. He's still as effective as anybody. The numbers shrink over time as the sample size increases. So I hope that put a little face on that. So don't trip off. That is totally a measure. It does have some, usefulness for the people who like to track the numbers and the rest. But the big deal, the big takeaway out of this is that AA was working, and there was a way to see that we were working, and here's the thing: forget the percentages. Look at what's behind it. People who come, there's a great percentage of people who come and who get this thing right away. There's still another percentage of people who come and they don't get it right away, but they get it after a little while. Many of us are in that number. There are many of us who've been here one time, and if we said how many, we raise our hand. There are many of us who've been here a long time who had a relapse or two, and now we're here. Then there are those of us who have been here, who keep coming. Our lives improve. We have not seen the grasp it yet, but our lives are improving. What's the takeaway? That there is going to be a great benefit for coming and trying this way of life. And so some people decide they don't want it, but great numbers of people return as time passes. That's the takeaway. People come, stay immediately. People come back and stay a long time. And then we have to keep coming back, because we have some people sitting here in God's property right now, in all Alaska recovery right now. We got people who've been doing this thing and doing this thing and doing this thing. Why should I keep trying? Because great numbers of these begin to return and begin to stay. And then, so let's, reader.
Another reason for the wide acceptance of AA was the administration of friends in medicine, religion, and press, together with innumerable others who became our able and persistent advocates. Without such support, AA would have made only the slowest progress. Some of the recommendations of AA early medical and religious trends will be found further in this book.
So we're going to move through. So another reason, so we got a few reasons why AA is blowing up right now. One of them, the vast number of recoveries. The second one, the reunited homes. Another one is because we had friends who recommended us, who spoke up for us, who talked about us, who word of mouthed us. People in medicine, people in religion, people in the press, and then a whole bunch of other people, probably people in the workplace, other brothers. So now these people are recommending AA. You know what? I got a friend, a member of my church, somebody I saw. So people are talking us up. Reader?
Okay. Alcoholics Anonymous is not a religious organization. Neither does AA take any particular medical point of views. Though we cooperate widely with the men of medicine as well as with the men of religion.
So AA is not a religious organization, but check this out. Don't get confused. AA is not a non-religious or anti-religious organization. Sometimes people get it confused because we're not a religious organization. We're not an anti-religious or non-religious organization either. We will explore and we'll talk about individual members. We'll get into that a lot later, but this is, again, introduction to who it is you joining, new friends. This is our profile. This is our makeup. This is what we look like. We're not a religious organization. We're not a cult, but we're not anti-religious either. We don't have a medical point of view, though we have men of medicine and men of religion who we cooperate with, but we don't have a medical point of view. Wait a minute, you guys, did we talk about this being a disease, being an illness? We don't have a medical point of view. We have a description of alcoholism, not a definition. Reader?
Alcohol being no respecter of person, we are an accurate cross-section of America. In a distant land, the same democratic evening up process is now going on. By personal religious affiliations, we include Catholics, Protestants, Jews, Hindus, and a sprinkling of Muslims and Buddhists. More than 15% of us are women.
So what does that mean, Ralph? Alcohol being no respecter of persons. That means alcohol, unlike certain things, sickle cell disease is primarily in the African American community, doesn't generally step outside of that. There are certain things, breast cancer, generally speaking, is with women, it's generally speaking. So there are some illnesses and the rest of that are gender kind of specific or race specific or region specific, but alcohol is not like that. Alcoholism is not like that. No respecter of persons. Let's do something really fast and let's fact check this paragraph right now. It's a no respecter, accurate cross section of America. Everybody, I want you to go down to your reactions where you can raise hands. Joanne, put your hand down. Jeff, put your hand down. Marianne, put your hand down. Julie, put your hand down. Okay, I want everybody to go to the reactions. I don't want you to react yet. And let's take a look at this paragraph and let's fact check it. And so we are an accurate cross-section of America. How many people right now that's on here, and do your raise hand function if you are on the East Coast of America right now. Okay, put them down. How many people right now would consider themselves, put your hands down, please, everybody. Okay, how many people would consider themselves in the South right now of America, in the United States right now? Put your hands up. Got a lot of people. Okay, put your hands down. How many people would consider themselves in the Mid-East and the Midwest of the United States of America right now? Put your hands up. Ooh, okay, put them down. How many people are on the West Coast of the United States? So we see that paragraph talks about we have every religion, we have an accurate cross-section of America, accurate, in distant lands. How many people, everybody put your hands down. How many people do we have, including you? Okay, put your hands down. How many people do we have on here right now who are outside of the United States? Put your hands up. Woo. Okay. So now we see we are cross-section of America. We are in distant lands. And now, how many, hands down, hands down, how many, hands down, how many people identify as Catholics? This is the first time we've done this exercise. I like this. Let's fact check this book since it's talking about we have a person, we cross section. Okay, hands down, Catholics. How many people identify, hands down, Catholics, as Protestants? This is interesting. Okay, hands down. I'm gonna be interested in a couple of these. Hands down, please. How many people identify as Jews? Okay. Hands down. Now this one's gonna we might get smaller and smaller. I'm really interested now in these next ones. Put your hands down because I'm really interested in where we're getting ready to go. May have no hands, we may have some. Do we have any Hindus? Damn, I was hoping our microcosm was gonna hit everybody. Do we have any Muslims? Nice. And Victor, you done had your hand up for I don't know how many things. Okay. Any Buddhists? Put your hands down. Any Buddhists? Really? Okay. Thank you, guys. We don't even have to say are more than 15% of us. We're not going to even ask about the women. We can look on here and see. So just in our microcosm of this, we can see exactly what Alcoholics Anonymous growth was in those days and how we've grown and how this message is still alcohol, no respecter of persons. We are an accurate reflection of that just in our little corner of this world. Reader? Ronald?
Yeah. At present, our membership is pyramiding at a rate of about 20% a year. So far, upon the total problem of several million accurate and potential alcoholics in the world, we have made only a scratch. In all probability, we shall never be able to touch more than a few fractions of alcoholic problems and all of its ramifications. Upon therapy for the alcoholic himself, we will surely have no monopoly. It is our great hope that all those who have as yet found no answer may begin to find one in the pages of this book and will presently join us on a high road to a new freedom.
So when this was written, Alcoholics Anonymous was growing at about 20% a year. I don't know anybody. If anybody on here has figures for what our growth currently is, you can raise your hand. Not speculating. I don't want to hear speculators. If anybody has an idea of at what rate we're presently growing, raise your hand and let us know. Upon the problem of all the alcoholics in the world, this is still true now. We know we've only made a scratch, but we made a hell of a scratch. You know, it depends on how you read and how you look at things, whether and if it's pessimistic or optimistic. And so I don't even get on that side. Some people see it as, wow, we should be doing a whole lot better. Other people see it as, man, look at what a difference has been brought into this world as a result of what it is we've done and what it is we're doing. And we know it's a whole gang more of people out that need what it is that we have to offer. In all probability, never be able to do more than a fraction of the alcohol problem. And it says in all its ramifications. And what does that look like? The alcohol problem in all its ramifications is the impact, and we'll read about that all throughout the rest of what we're doing. But the alcoholic ramifications, we touch way more than just the person who's drinking. So the alcohol problem in all its manifestations, the innocent kids, the families who are just the communities we wreck, you know, the drunk drivers and the people that they get. So it's a lot of ramifications of alcohol, the alcohol problem also. You know, on therapy for the alcoholic himself, we don't have a monopoly. Now, this word he put in there is therapy, but really upon treating the alcoholic, we don't have a monopoly, you guys. When we start reading this book particularly, we'll start looking down on other folk who try to do, people who go to church, who look for it another way. No, we don't have a monopoly. We have a way that we found that works for us, that works for us. And we have also found it is the most effective, but we don't have a monopoly, you know, on therapy. That'll be important as we journey. Put that on the board for future thought, and we'll refer back to that piece as we journey through this recovery process. It is our great hope that all those who've not found an answer, and this hope is expressed way back in the beginning, that they might find an answer through the pages of this book and join us. So if you're here and if you've not journeyed through this process together, stay with us. We're glad. Somebody had their, okay, I guess this down now. So,
Ralph,
okay.
Don't ask about the percentage of growth yet until we read the other forwards.
I'm not asking about anything yet. I'm getting ready to move. Maureen? Oh, I heard what you said, Robbie. Yeah. So the other forwards are going to also go into growth for us.
Brain alcoholic. So I'm not sure if you want to know it now. It's over 200 million members. There are more than 123,000 groups around the world, and the literature has been translated into 100 languages.
And thank you for that, Maureen. And like Ronnie said, the succeeding forwards are also going to give us different numbers. So we're going to stop with that, and we're getting ready to go into the next forward. So let's go to the forward to the third edition.
Okay, forward to the third edition. By March 1976, when this edition went into printings, the total worldwide membership of the Alcoholics Anonymous was conservatively estimated at more than 1 million, with most 28,000 groups meeting in over 90 countries.
We did a forward 39. We did a forward 55. Now we're doing another forward to the third edition. And again, I don't want to replow this ground, but we keep adding new people. Many people on here know this stuff, so I really appreciate you guys for indulging us to help people who are new to this. And I know we're going to get through some of this, but some of it is the first time some people are seeing it. And I have to remember there's some stuff that is in our regular, we say it all the time, so we don't think about it. But when you're new to this, it's like, wait, what? So the forward to the third edition. So our book has not changed. I'm going to reiterate this. How many facilities we have on here today? We got a lot. So especially for you guys and especially for people who are new to the book. So our book the essence of it doesn't change, but over these years, there are some, so we put another forward, we do a third edition. And that's not a brand new big book. You know, that's another printing of the big book. And we'll talk about why do you need another edition? Well, some numbers change. We'll add some stories. We'll change out some of the personal stories in the back of the book. That's essentially what changes in these editions. And then when we do these editions, you'll notice that the forwards keep getting shorter and shorter. So the forward to this third edition, same big book, but we did another printing of it, you know, in 1976, 21 years after 1955. And so we did another one. And so now when we did this other printing of this same book, now we have 1 million people that are estimated. Well, Ralph, how do we know our numbers? We don't know our numbers. We don't, so again, new friend, we don't know our numbers. These are estimates. And when you go to meetings, you will not be, many home groups, when you go to meetings, many home groups have people who they, you know, sign up for the phone list, sign up for the membership list, they take dues and the rest of this. Many meetings and places you go to, never put your name anywhere, never do anything. So tracking our membership is, it's difficult at best. So we conservatively estimate our membership numbers, okay? If you worry, but wait, I'm gonna have to check in. I thought this was no. So our numbers are they're estimated. So in 76, you know, was estimated, and look at where we are. We're all over the world. We're all over the world. So these numbers are estimates. With now the groups, it's easier to look at how many groups we have, because groups we register, generally speaking. We still estimate the number of groups, but we have a better idea of the number of groups than we do the number of individuals. And we know how many countries. And so in 1976, we were meeting in over 90 countries. We had over 1 million members, and we had about 28,000 groups. Okay, Albert, I'm wondering what you're going to add to this, but come on.
Just an interesting observation that I've had, because I do a lot of panels, and we open up the meeting with Serenity Prayer, and I look around the room, and you have a certain percentage that don't know it, and you have a certain percentage that do, that has some exposure to the program. And I found that interesting, and I tailor some of my shares to the ones that don't even know the Serenity Prayer. And I found that very interesting about the growth, or people that don't even know about recovery or even about the program. And I just wanted to interject that. I found that interesting as I go around to all the facilities.
Rita?
Surveys of groups in the United States and Canada indicate that AA is reaching out not only to more and more people, but to a wider and wider range. Women now make up more than 1/4 of the membership. Among newer members, the proportion is nearly 1/3. 7% of AA surveys are less than 30 years of age, among them many in their teens.
So there were some surveys. And again, these surveys are not indicative of the entire fellowship. Not everybody responds, but surveys, and then these numbers are 1976. And
Ralph, also look at it. It says the surveys were just in the U.S. and Canada.
Right.
Doesn't even include all the other countries.
So it's reaching out. So let's look at what it is that's a microcosm. And usually it's going to reflect something. It'll reflect trends. And so what the takeaway is, more and more people are coming to AA is what the trend is, a wider range. We started out in 1937 when the book started being written. When the book was published in 1939, we were almost primarily white, male dominated. By 1976, we have a much wider and wider range. Women making up about a fourth of the fellowship, and among newer people, they said women were making up even more. The more interesting part of that was in 76, 7% were less than 30. So you had a younger population and a more diverse population of people in Alcoholics Anonymous as of 1976. Again, in addition to that, that profile that I mentioned in the first days of primarily white male dominated, I should have said white older male dominated. So now by the time we get to 1976, the diversity of the program, it is much more diverse in terms of geographic, age, gender, race, class, all that, much more diverse. Reader?
The basic principle of AA program, it appears, holds good for individuals with many different lifestyles. Just as the program has brought recovery to those of many different nationalities, the 12 steps that summarize the programs may be called Las 12 Pasos in one country and Las 12 Hasta in another. But they trace exactly the same path to recovery that was blazed by the earliest members of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's right, I don't speak Spanish and I sure don't read French.
Stephanie? You can't unmute, and you're just talking away, Stephanie, but you're muted. You're still muted. Come on, you're now unmuted. But we can't hear you.
Yeah, Stephanie, looks like there's something wrong with your audio.
Stephanie, something's wrong with your audio. We can't hear you, dear. Come on, Nora.
Hi, I'm Nora. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic. So basically, I just want to say one sentence, just combining also what we read before. If I read this book, it tells me that if I read this book and apply what this book tells me in whatever language it is, in whatever country I am, I have around 75% of recovery. So it gives a lot of hope.
So it turns out that this thing that those two gentlemen discovered took place in Akron, Ohio. Turns out that this same recovery message is translatable, and it turns out that this program of recovery can be replicated. It travels. It's portable, and it's so in in different nationalities, different countries. It's been translated in I don't know how many languages now, but they trace the same path of recovery that those two gentlemen that got together back in 1935. The same path of recovery still works over there in where Nuri is and where a lot of other people are raise their hands. And it's still same recovery program, no matter what language, and it works. It's translatable and it replicates. Jacqueline? You're muted. Go ahead.
What I like about this paragraph is that, in my experience, is that the basic principles or the rules that have been established that they found out back in 1935 that it still works. I don't have to keep trying to figure out if it's anything different to becoming sober and living a certain lifestyle, if you keep coming back, my experience that I found that to be very true is the principles that have been laid out. And this is the Bible of sobriety for me. That is strong. It's strong in your the way you'll see it happen in your life. If you follow the tenets, the 12 steps. And that was miraculous for me because I don't have to, really, work my brains to death to figure out. Just keep coming back, and you will see it unfold. And that's pretty good to me. I wish I could really lay it out more.
No, you've done quite enough. It's just one paragraph. We'll be here.
Thank you.
We'll get to lay it out more. Ronald, reader.
In spite of the great increase in the size and the span of this fellowship, at its core, it remains simple and personal. Each day, somewhere in the world, recovery begins when one alcoholic talks with another. Alcoholics sharing experience, strength, and hope.
So we're growing. We're growing in size. We're growing in reach. We're growing in diversity, but in different lifestyles. But take all that away, the growth, and this is what Jackie, I guess, was trying to say. Don't take a lot of words. Less is more sometimes. Here's the deal. Every recovery begins when, Ralph? One alcoholic talking to another, experience, strength, and hope. That's it. That's it. Recovery begins. We did all this reading, and it's still our base. That's our mandate, and that's our calling, and that's our base. That's what Jackie was saying, too. Wish she could say more. That's when that recovery starts. Every day in the world, same place, same message. Gloria?
Good morning, everybody. I'm not going to do a whole dissertation on this, but Ralph, just this when I was just reading this one little paragraph, I just got so full, right? I'm like you, the beginning of this and all, and what we do, and just this, somebody shared it with me, so I think that's what it just hit my heart. Just wanted to say that.
Okay. You're muted.
Thank you, Teresa, alcoholic. Good morning. What good news does this book bring to an alcoholic like me? In my own little isolated world, thinking, oh, pardon me. How can I don't know. Pray tell, how can I ever recover? And regardless of every time I go into the book, it's brand new. And I look at this and I go, why does this matter? Because I've been feeling so alone, thinking I'm the only one. And now you telling me you all over the world, there's books. See, I kind of like there's books all over the fucking place. I'm thinking about the alcoholics by themselves in their house, if they have a house, a cardboard box somewhere in the world. And they get this book and they're like, I'm not alone. And then I also think about a person who loves company, building companies, right? Or somebody who writes books, anybody. And we have went over a short version of the traditions. And they still study this today. Anybody who would ever want an organization that is grown exponentially, such as this, or book, is extraordinary, is why this is an organization that is not an organization that is not understood. And you tell me that all of this happened by a simple, basic thing of just one alcoholic sharing their experience, strength, and hope? There's not a whole lot of everything else in the world requires so much more in order to expand. And here I am, don't know if I could stop drinking. What? if I look at it in today, right now, this moment, is this accurate? Is this true? Well, I'm here. I've been to the world. There's 80,000 people in there. 60,000 Founders Day. I'm not alone. We can recover. Anybody who's new thinking they're alone and nobody. So far, we're only in the forward to the third. And this daggone thing is all over the freaking world in different languages. And it's just about one alcoholic talking to another. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Thank you.
Rita?
Okay. Forward to the fourth edition. This fourth edition of Alcoholics Anonymous came off press in November 2001, at the start of a new millennium. Since the third edition was published in 1976, worldwide membership of AA has just about doubled, and is estimated 2 million or more, with nearly 100,800 groups meeting in approximately 150 countries around the world.
Ralph, I'd like to just tie something together. When we first started reading the first printing, it said we're more than 100. 16 years later, it said that we were at 150,000 when we read the second edition, 150,000. Third edition, 21 years later, 21 years later, it said now we're at 1 million. So we get to the fourth edition. So now we've gone from the original almost 100 or more than 100 men and women. And we're now at 2 million, which I don't know of any organization that has that kind of growth. But to have that kind of growth is really bespeaks to what everybody who shared already. So Teresa and others that just shared, that to be a part of this worldwide fellowship that's growing. This came from the same book that hasn't been changed. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. So AA double, 2 million. Ronnie already hit it, 100 and almost 100,800,000 groups, 150 countries. So Alcoholics Anonymous is blown up, since that day, since the book was published in 1939. Reader?
Literature has played a major role in AA's growth, and a striking phenomenon over the past quarter century has been the explosion of translations of our basic literature into many languages and dialects. In country after country where the AAC was planted, it has taken root slowly at first and growing by leaps and bounds when literature has become available. Currently, Alcoholics Anonymous has been translated into 43 languages.
Wow. And that's a lot of translating. The interesting thing, too, just really quickly, I'm hoping we can get through this so we can next week start Doctor's Opinion. But the interesting thing about the translations, AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, as a group, we don't have a translating arm per se. We don't have somebody who sits around and does this. Members, people in a country, in a fellowship, somebody in that country will then take on that task of translating the big book into a language. That's a whole different discussion in and of itself, how that process, how it gets, because it's very interesting, some of the translations that end up. I've had my hands on a couple of books, but the literature has been translated. They call it an explosion of translations in the many languages and dialects. Why? For the same reason that we had the ready acceptance earlier, the reunited homes and the successful recoveries. And so people started seeing it in other countries. Interestingly, in some countries where it's even dangerous, to admit being an alcoholic. So in country after country, it's taken root, and we've seen it, and it's been translated in the fourth edition, 76 languages. I like the exercise we did because we are able to see in just our little corner, we've been able to see how it's taken root in other countries. We see it just on Sunday mornings. We can see how many countries are represented just in our meeting, a microcosm of the greater Alcoholics Anonymous community. Love?
I don't want to double dip, but I want to also let you guys know, being part of World Service, it takes years to translate a book. And to get it back and forth, it has to be approved. There's a lot of stuff. And just what you said, there's countries that they can't even mention that they're alcoholics and addicts, that it's being translated and it is being transmitted or being transferred into that country page by page. I don't know if you guys knew that. I just wanted to put that.
Come on, Kelly, really quickly, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kelly. I'm an alcoholic. Two things I'd like to say. I came to AA off and on for 12 years before I actually was able to get sober and stay sober. And I remember I read the big book once, and the first time I came to AA. 12 years later, my sponsor told me to read the book, starting at the blank page and go all the way through. And the thing that I realized when I first read the forewords to the book is that it showed me that there was proof that this program worked because of the numbers that they cited. I thought that I was hopeless, and I was one of those countless few who couldn't get it. And it gave me a little modicum of hope that maybe at that point I could get it too. The other thing I just wanted to say is I sponsor a woman from Hungary, and it's really awesome because when we do work together in the big book, we do it in the English version, but then she goes home and underlines it and reads it in her Hungarian version. And I think that's a wonderful gift because it helps her make more sense of it. Thank you.
Ursula?
Hi, I'm an alcoholic, and thank you that I can speak. It's so important that people translate the big book who have done the steps. We in Germany had a big book for a long time with a lot of mistakes in it. And it was really, really devastating sometimes. I learned the 12 steps in the English version. And when I started reading it in German with sponsees, I saw what was wrong with it. And it was really difficult to change that. We did that just behind the curtains, not the official way, because otherwise it would have taken years again. So that's important. People should translate who have gone through the steps at least once. Thank you.
And as Ronald pointed out, so we said in the paragraph, it says it's been translated into 43. In 2011, it's been translated into 62 languages. That's my answer. Doug, we're not going to, come on.
Yeah, Doug, alcoholic. I just want to say, I have a sponsee from Israel, and he speaks English, but it's not his native language. And so he has a big book in a 12 and 12 in Hebrew. So when we went through it and he was new, I read the English version of the big book, and he followed along in the Hebrew version. And in the doctor's opinion, it says, you know, the phrase phenomenon of craving. And I thought, oh my God, that's big English words, you know. And I said, do you understand what that means, phenomenon of craving? He said, yes, it means like something you have to do even if you don't want to. I said, yeah, that's exactly right. He said, it's written right here in Hebrew. So I think it's really good. You have someone who speaks a native language is different. Get them a book in that language. Thanks.
Reader.
Ralph, I just want to point out that after in your book, you probably have a third edition. It says it's 62. In my book, it's the fourth edition. And it says in 2017, Alcoholics Anonymous has 70 languages.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, Ronald Addict. As the message of recovery has reached larger numbers of people, it has also touched the lives of vastly greater varieties of suffering alcoholics. When the phrase, "we are people who normally would not mix," page 17 of this book, was written in 1939, it referred to a fellowship composed largely of men and a few women with quite similar social, ethic, and economical backgrounds. Like so much of AA basic text, those words have proven to be far more visionary than founding members would ever have imagined. The stories added to these editions represent a membership whose characteristics of age, gender, race, and culture have widened and have deepened to encompass virtually everyone the first 100 members could have hoped to reach.
Read this next paragraph for us, Ron. We'll share on both.
All right. While our literature has preserved the integrity of AA message, sweeping changes in society as a whole are reflected in new customs and practices within the fellowship. Taking advantage of technology advances, for example, AA members with computers can participate in meetings online, sharing with fellow alcoholics across the country or around the world. In any meeting, anywhere, AA shares experience, strength, and hope with each other in order to stay sober and help other alcoholics modem to modem or face to face. AA speaks the language of the heart in all its power and simplicity. Wow. Can I share it, Ralph?
Really quick, because very quick.
Okay, yeah, I was just saying they brought something up about changing the language of the 11th tradition based upon the 11th tradition, what it says. But right here in this book, right here on this very page, it says it's okay to share modem to modem. And I'm really amazed at how way back in 1939 or way back then when they wrote this, they had the foresight to see this and put this in a tradition where it would grow and have to be shared like that. That's it.
Jacob, you got 30 seconds or a minute.
That's all I need. My sobriety date's January 21st, 2020. I spent 6 weeks after that sobriety date in a rehab where I got marching orders to go to AA. And, modem to modem, this meeting, like tons of people in this meeting carried the message to me when I got out of rehab. It's like I'm a testament to modem. And I'm so grateful to you all anytime I read this.
These last two paragraphs, and I know we're rushing, and I kind of hate to, because it speaks to us right now. As I was reading this, it speaks to this gathering right now. People who normally wouldn't make, I used to read it like, we are people who wouldn't get along with it. We're people who, and I read it differently, we're people who ordinarily just might not have crossed paths with each other. We're people who ordinarily might not have had, because I would certainly have mixed with a gang of you guys, or I just wouldn't have had the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? We wouldn't have crossed paths. We would not have got a chance to meet each other. We run in different circles. We live in different places. We come from different places. And now, Alcoholics Anonymous, this fellowship of ours, talk about the democratic even and out process. It brings people like us together. And so these words, so much of this book, so much of what's written here, it's only in this paragraph, but it speaks to way more than just what is in the forwards. When it says, much of what these words proved to be more visionary than the founding members could have imagined. Just jumping ahead, real quick sneak preview. Even when they wrote the promises, for instance, that follow the 9th step and the 10th, way more visionary than they could have thought when they wrote this book. And so when it says we are people who would not mix, we have And while the literature has preserved the integrity of the message, so the message is preserved by the integrity, but I mean, the integrity of the message is preserved by the book, but the vehicle for sharing the message is over so many different vehicles just because of the integrity of this book. And so we are living out this modem to modem. And this was written in 2001. Did not see COVID coming. We had online meetings pre-COVID. A lot of people don't realize that. We had online meetings going on already, but we had an explosion of that now. And we right now are AA members with computers, participating in meetings online, sharing with fellow alcoholics across the country or around the world. Anywhere the AA share experience, strength, and hope with each other, modem to modem. We speak the language of the heart. That is, well, doesn't that speak to us this morning? That's amazing to me, this paragraph. This is dedicated to us, these last two paragraphs. And it is, we embody it. No more needs to be said. They could take this snapshot and stick us in those paragraphs. I'm going to take the First Lady's hand. I see to read next week. Okay, Kelly, you're reading next week. Get here a little early. Let Ryan know you're here. Put your names in the chat. Anybody who's not in yet for birthdays. And Ryan, take it away.
Thanks, Rob. Okay, first, I'd like to thank all the people who helped make this meeting possible.